My period lasted over 2 weeks due to hormonal issues. Luke's childhood friend Cassidy smirked. Poor Luke with a wife you can't even use. Our friends laughed. I replied sweetly. Why would he be miserable? He's happy to have a break from his little blue pills. The room fell silent, then erupted in louder laughter. Luke lost his smile. What are you talking about? I'm not making it up, I said innocently. His ears reddened as he whispered. That was one time it's private. And my hormones aren't private. I shot back. A friend teased. Secrets? Is the missus complaining? Still angry, Luke had shared my health issues. I scoffed. He panicked enough. She's sensitive and just getting back at me, right? I said with a wry smile. Just getting back at him. My tone made it seem like I was saving his face. His friends exchanged knowing glances. Then Cassidy spoke up. I can vouch for Luke's stamina. He doesn't need help. I gave her a long, hard look. Her comments stunned the table into silence. The guy who had been teasing Luke earlier even tried to rein her in. Cassie, are you insane? You're going to wreck Luke's marriage. He then turned to me. Raina. Cassie's always been one to speak without thinking. Don't take her seriously. I crossed my arms. The fire I had just managed to bank flaring up again. Cassidy, I remembered her. She had always used aloud. I'm just one of the guys. Personality to mask her complete lack of manners. On my wedding night with Luke, she was the one who insisted we play some vulgar party game involving a banana. She grabbed one, and before she could shove it between Luke's legs, his face had darkened. Cassie, that's enough. Luke, at least back then, had the decency to shut it down immediately. I had let it go, dismissed it. But now with this new stunt, it all came rushing back.
Luke was about to speak.
I beat him to it.
What?
Did you two sleep together or something? A blush crept up Cassidy's neck. She had started this, but now that I'd called her bluff, she looked flustered. No, of course not. The blush on her face deepened. The silence in the room was deafening. Luke's voice suddenly sharpened. Raina, that's enough. Don't be so aggressive. My friends have loose lips. That's all. Let it go. He shot me a look of clear disapproval. Bitter laugh escaped me, my anger spiking. So now I'm the one being aggressive? Seeing a full-blown fight was about to erupt, his friends quickly tried to mediate. Cassie, just apologize to Raina, and we can all move on. Yeah, this is on you, Cass. Look, you're causing a crisis in Luke's marriage. Cassidy pouted and mumbled an apology in my direction. I was cornered, hoisted on a pedestal of supposed magnanimity. I had no choice but to drop the argument with Luke near the end of the night. I got up to use the restroom. Halfway there, I realized I'd forgotten a pad. As I walked back to the private room to grab one, I heard their voices drift out. Over half a month without, huh?
Ash.
You basically a monk? No wonder Cassie was asking. I'm also wondering what the point of you getting married was. So, is it true what your wife said? You really need the pills. The room was filled with laughter. The tension that had been present when I was there completely gone. Cassidy's voice was petulant. Not a single one of you stood up for me just now. And here you are running your mouths. Who told you to say something so reckless? Yeah, nobody was going to touch that line. How would you know about Luke's performance anyway? Did you test it out for him? The jokes were getting more and more out of line. Cassidy's voice held a trace of coyness. Don't be ridiculous. But the friends, sensing blood in the water,
Pressed on.
So how do you know? Spill it. It was back in college. We all went swimming together. Remember? Luke was wearing swim trunks. Was really obvious. She stammered through the explanation. Her answer was met with a roar of laughter. Cassie, you're not telling us everything. Why were you staring there when you were supposed to be swimming? Ashman, you got married too soon. It's obvious Cassie's been waiting to pounce. Luke's voice laced with a helpless laugh. Cut in, all right, that's enough. My wife's here tonight, so rein it in. She can't take a joke. The mention of my name plunged the room into silence. Then someone spoke up.
Man.
You just can't bring wives to guys' night. If only all women could take a joke like Cassie. But seriously, Ash, how obvious are we talking? There was a scrape of a chair, as if someone had stood up abruptly. I'll show you just how obvious it is right now. Mid a chorus of whoops and hollers, I pushed the door open. Cassidy was draped over Luke, one of her hands frozen on his belt buckle. Any closer, and she would have been touching the very thing they were all talking about. Caught red-handed, they both looked mortified. A faint blush colored Cassidy's cheeks. Luke frantically yanked his belt out of her grasp. Wait, honey, let me explain. I crossed my arms. Explain what? Go on. Let her pull it down. Let's all have a look. My words seemed to short-circuit his brain. What? I sneered. Isn't it so obvious? Let her unbuckle it so everyone can see just how obvious it is. Cassidy didn't dare make another move. I walked straight up to Luke, hooked a finger in his belt, and gave it a tug. He knew what I was about to do and jerked back, clamping a hand over his buckle. Any shred of guilt he might have felt vanished in an instant. All right, stop it. Aren't you afraid of making a scene? Making a scene? Who was the one making a scene here? A minute ago, before I walked in, you were all having a grand old time, talking about how she was checking you out. That wasn't making a scene. Oh, so you guys talking about it is fine. But me asking you to show everyone is embarrassing. No one at the table dared to speak, but I could feel their eyes on me. It wasn't the cautious respect from before. It was annoyance. I had ruined their fun again. My words left Luke speechless. The atmosphere was thick with tension. And, of course, it was Cassidy who spoke first. Her voice was a kitten's mule dripping with fake contrition. I'm so sorry, Rena. I really don't know what's okay to say, and what isn't. If I've upset you, I'll leave. She grabbed her purse and started for the door. Immediately, the other friends grabbed her arm. A flood of comforting words pouring out. Cassie, you don't have to go. We all know what you're like. Yeah, Cass. It was just a joke. No one's holding it against you. If anyone should leave, it shouldn't be you. One of them actually said it out loud. I raised an eyebrow at him, then looked back at Luke. So, I guess that means I'm the one who should go. Two can play at this game. I grabbed my own bag and made a show of rushing out. Not a single one of those hypocritical friends moved to stop me. It wasn't until I reached the ground floor that I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Luke, after some deliberation, had decided to catch up. Nina, don't be angry. He grabbed my arm, forcing me to turn and face him. Before I could say a word, I saw Cassidy scurrying down the stairs behind him. She was holding Luke's phone. Luke, your mom just called. She wants us to come to your parents' place for dinner this weekend. Cassidy placed the phone in Luke's hand. Her eyes flickered towards me. A clear provocation. Okay, thanks. He actually thanked her. I wrenched my arm out of Luke's grasp. Wow, you even know his lock screen password. I'm starting to ship you too. His face stiffened. Rena, don't be ridiculous. Cassidy hid behind Luke, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of me noticing that little detail. Rena, it's normal to know his password. Everyone knows Luke's password is your birthday. It sounded so reasonable. Luke looked even more embarrassed. I jumped in. Everyone knows. Oh, so all his buddies can just unlock his phone whenever they want, answer his calls. His mom just called to invite the two of you to dinner. Why didn't she invite the whole gang? Luke took a step closer, trying to pull me away. Don't make it sound so ugly.
My mom
Watched Cassie grow up. It's that simple. Cassidy stood to the side, looking anxious. If it bothers you so much, Rena, I just won't go. Oh no, don't do that. Anyone can skip. But how could the two of you not go? If you don't go, his mother will be so sad. Luke tugged on my arm, signaling me to stop. I glared at him. What are you pulling me for? Does your mother not have a son? Does Cassie not have parents? Why do they need to play happy family with someone else's kid? Luke's face darkened. Rena, whether it was my words that actually hurt her or not, I couldn't tell. But Cassidy's eyes welled up and she turned and ran back up the stairs. Luke pressed his fingers to his forehead. Rena, all I wanted was a peaceful dinner, right? It's all my fault. I shouldn't have stopped you all from talking about me. I'm no fun. I can't take a joke. I looked at the blame in Luke's eyes. Was like I was seeing him for the first time, and my heart sank. Luke was the one who pursued me. We had been interns at the same company when we first got together. My family had a pretty good impression of him. He was smart, did well in school. And back then, he was even humble. The only thing they were concerned about was his family's financial situation. There was no way he could afford to buy a house. Then they met his parents. After that, my parents were dead set against the marriage. My family wasn't wealthy, but we were comfortably middle class. Luke's parents were from a working class background, and they had a certain coarseness about them. We first met at a 5-star restaurant. His parents were rude to the waiters. And when the bill came, they just sat there and watched my parents pay. Not even a token gesture of offering to contribute. What infuriated my parents even more was what happened next. At the time, Luke was renting an apartment. I would occasionally visit, and if it got late, I'd stay the night. His parents actually brought this up in front of my parents. The implication was clear. I was already one of them. On the ride home, I sat in my parents' car. I rarely saw them lose their composure, but that day they did. Those people are thieves. Think they brought that up because they have no manners?
No.
It was a calculated move to get out of paying a dowry. Think about it. Why else wouldn't they even offer to pay for dinner? But I was blinded by love back then. I actually argued with them. They're just straightforward. They don't have any bad intentions. The last time I went to their house, they said I was too skinny and made me pork knuckles. They probably saw you were already paying the bill. and felt too awkward to say anything besides I'm marrying Luke, not his parents.
My dad scoffed at that.
They can't even afford a house. You'll be crammed into some tiny apartment with them, whether you like it or not. But in the end, parents can rarely win against their children's will. I refused to break up with Luke. My parents had no choice but to pay the down payment on a house for us. Their only condition to Luke was that he never let me be wronged. Perhaps Luke was grateful once, but as time went on, he began to see everything my parents and I did for him as his due. The car ride home was a suffocating vacuum of silence. Luke drove with white-knuckled intensity, staring straight ahead, waiting for me to scream, to cry, to give him the opening he needed to tell me I was crazy.
I didn't give it to him.
I looked out the window, watching the city lights blur, my mind racing not with anger, but with accounting. I was tallying the cost, the years, the tears, and more practically, the house. Are you going to ignore me all night? Luke finally snapped as we pulled into the driveway. Cassidy was crying, Raina. Actually crying. I unclicked my seatbelt. And? She's my oldest friend. You humiliated her. I turned to him, my expression dead calm. She had her hand on your belt, Luke. In front of your friends. If that's how she treats her oldest friend, I'd hate to see how she treats her enemies. It was a joke.
God, you're so stiff.
That's why the guys like her. She's effortless. Effortless, I repeated, tasting the bitterness of the word. Is that what you call it? I call it desperate. I went inside and locked myself in the guest bedroom. That night, I didn't sleep. I pulled up the banking app on my phone. My parents had paid the down payment, but Luke and I shared the mortgage. Or so I thought. Scanning the transactions, I noticed a pattern. Cash withdrawals. 200 here, 500 there. Always around the end of the month. Labeled miscellaneous or gas. I cross-referenced the dates with Cassidy's social media. Withdrawal, $300. Cassidy posts a new manicure and cocktails. Withdrawal, $500. Cassidy posts a thank you to my bestie for saving me from my landlord. I took screenshots of everything. The grief over my dying marriage was being rapidly replaced by the cold, hard resolve of a woman protecting her assets. Chapter 2. The Lion's Den. Friday arrived. The dinner at Luke's parents' house. Please, Luke said in the car, his tone softening into that manipulative sweetness I used to mistake for love. Just be nice. Mom's been excited about this pork knuckle stew all week. Do it for me. I'm always nice, Luke, I said, checking my lipstick in the mirror. When we walked in, the smell of grease and stale cigarettes hit me. And there, sitting at the kitchen table peeling garlic like she owned the place, was Cassidy. Oh, Raina. Luke's mother, Linda, wiped her hands on her apron.
She didn't hug me.
She looked past me to her son. Lukey, you look tired. Is she working you too hard?
Ai fine, ma, Luke mumbled, kissing her cheek.
Cassidy didn't look up. Hey, Luke. I told your mom you liked the fat left on the meat, so I made sure she didn't trim it. Thanks, Cass, Luke said, relaxing instantly. He sat down next to her, leaving me to find a chair on the opposite side. Dinner was an ambush. So, Linda started, chewing with her mouth open. Cassidy told us about the trouble you two were having. In the bedroom. I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. Luke choked on his water. Ma, we're not talking about this, Luke hissed, his ears turning pink. Why not? Family is for solving problems, Linda said, pointing her fork at me. Raina, you're a modern woman, career, and all that. Maybe you've forgotten a wife's duties. If a man needs assistance, pills, and such, it's usually because he's not inspired at home. Cassidy covered her mouth, hiding a smirk. I tried to tell the guys it wasn't a big deal, Linda. But you know how boys are. They worry about Luke's vitality. I placed my fork down gently. The metal clinked against the cheap porcelain. Actually, Linda, I said, my voice projecting clearly. I'm glad you brought that up. I was worried too. I thought maybe Luke had a medical issue. But then I realized he only has these performance issues when he's stressed about money. The table went quiet. Money. Linda frowned. Luke makes good money. He does, I smiled sweetly. But it seems a lot of it goes missing. I was looking at our statements. Thousands of dollars this year alone. I thought maybe he was gambling. Or paying for someone else's lifestyle. I locked eyes with Cassidy. Her smirk vanished. I borrowed a little for rent once, Cassidy stammered. 18 times actually, I corrected. And the medical bills for your cat? And the car repairs? It adds up to about $7,000, Luke. Is that why you need the blue pills? Because you're stressed about supporting 2 households. Luke slammed his hand on the table. Enough. You're counting pennies now? She's my friend, Raina. She needed help. And we needed to fix the roof. I shot back, my calm facade dropping just an inch to show the steel beneath. But you told me we were broke. Now I know why. Linda looked between her son and Cassidy. I expected her to be angry at them. Instead, she narrowed her eyes at me. You count his money like a landlord, Linda spat. A good wife supports her husband's generosity. Cassidy is family. You're just the woman who sleeps in his bed. And, apparently, not very well. That was the moment. The final tether snapped. You're right, I said, standing up. I'm not family. Thank God for that. I grabbed my purse. Luke, you can catch a ride with your family. I'm taking the car. My parents paid for it after all. Chapter 3. The Strategy. I didn't go back to the house. I went to my parents. When I told my dad everything, the disrespect, the money, the pills rumor, the belt buckle incident, he didn't say, I told you so. He just poured me a scotch and called his lawyer. The house is in both names. The lawyer, Mr. Henderson, explained the next day. But since your parents paid the down payment and you can trace the majority of mortgage payments to your income while his went to recreational withdrawals, we have a strong case for a jagged division of assets. But we need a smoking gun to kill his claim on the equity. We need proof of infidelity. He hasn't slept with her, I said, rubbing my temples. I really don't think he has. It's worse. It's an emotional affair where she gets all the benefits of a wife, money, attention, defense, and I get the chores and the bills. In the eyes of the court, dissipation of marital assets on a third party is a very big deal, Henderson said. Keep tracking the money, and let him feel safe. Let him think you've given up. So I went home. When Luke came back the next day, hungover and smelling of his mother's cooking, I was sitting on the couch reading a book. I'm not apologizing, he started, defensive immediately. I don't expect you to, I said without looking up. I overreacted. Your mom is right. You work hard. If you want to help Cassidy, that's your business. Luke blinked, stunned. He deflated, the fight leaving him. Really? You mean that?
Sure.
I just want peace, Luke. He hugged me, relief washing over him. I knew you'd get it. You're the best, Raina. Truly. For the next month, I was the perfect wife. I cooked. I cleaned. And every time Luke went to the shower, I downloaded his chat logs. The texts were damning. Not sexually explicit, but humiliating. Cassidy. She's so boring, Luke. I don't know how you do it. Luke, I know. But she pays the bills. Just hang in there. Once I get my bonus, we'll take that trip to Vegas. Just us. Cassidy. Don't bring the wet blanket. Luke. Never. I saved it all. And then, I waited for the annual gala. Chapter 4. The Gala. My company's annual gala was a black tie event. Usually Luke loved it because there was an open bar, and he could play the part of the successful power husband. This year, I told him he could bring a +1 for the friends table since we had extra seats. Can I bring Cass? He asked, eyes lighting up. She's been depressed lately. She needs a night out. Of course, I smiled. She should see how successful you are. I bought a dress.
Red.
Backless. Dangerous. I looked like a woman who had already buried her husband and was looking for the next one. At the gala, Cassidy showed up in a dress that was white and looked suspiciously like a modified bridal gown. She clung to Luke's arm. When colleagues approached us, she answered for him. Oh, Luke is thinking of moving to management, she'd say, sipping champagne. My boss, a terrifyingly sharp woman named Elena, raised an eyebrow at me. Raina, is this your sister? No, I said, sipping my water. This is Luke's charity case. Cassidy choked on her drink. Luke glared at me. Raina, stop. What? You said she was depressed and broke. That's charity, isn't it? Later in the evening, the CEO called for speeches. I had arranged with the AV team for a special presentation. I was up for an award, Project Lead of the Year. I'd like to thank my support system, I said into the microphone, standing on stage, looking down at Luke and Cassidy. The spotlight hit them. My husband, Luke, who has taught me so much about resource management. The screen behind me lit up. I had told Luke it was a montage of my work trips. It wasn't. It was a spreadsheet. A massive, color-coded breakdown of our finances projected onto a 20-foot screen. As you can see, I said, pointing to the graph. While I brought in 70% of the household income, 30% of our total liquidity was funneled into an account labeled Cassidy Rent/Fun. It's a fascinating case study in parasitic economics. The room went silent. A few hundred people, my colleagues, his potential employers, the city's elite, stared at the screen.
Then the slide changed.
It was the text message. She's so boring, but she pays the bills. A collective gasp rippled through the hall. Luke, I said, my voice echoing. You always wanted to be the center of attention. You wanted everyone to know how obvious things were. Is this obvious enough for you? Luke was frozen. His face was a mask of sheer horror. Cassidy was trying to hide under the table. I'm filing for divorce, I announced, looking him dead in the eye. And, since you've spent your share of the house equity on her, I'm keeping the house. My lawyer has the papers on your table. You can sign them now, or you can spend more money. You don't have fighting me. I dropped the mic, literally. The feedback screech was the only sound in the room as I walked off the stage. Chapter 5, The Fallout. Luke tried to chase me, but security stopped him. My boss, Elena, was waiting in the wings with a glass of champagne. That, she said, was the most unprofessional thing I have ever seen, and absolutely the highlight of my year. You're getting a raise. The divorce was messy, but short. The public humiliation at the gala meant Luke had no credibility. His friends, the ones who had laughed at me at the bar, saw the spreadsheet. They saw the text messages. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Luke wasn't the poor guy with a frigid wife. He was the moocher using his wife's money to fund his side piece. Men respect money, and Luke had been caught wasting it. They dropped him. But the sweetest victory wasn't the house. It was Cassidy. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into one of Luke's old friends, Mike, the one who had tried to rein Cassidy in that night at the bar. Raina, he looked awkward. You look great. I feel great, Mike.
I wanted to say sorry.
For everything. Water under the bridge, I said. How's Luke? Mike laughed. A harsh sound.
Disaster.
He moved back in with his parents. And, get this, Cassidy moved in with them. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. Happy family? Hardly. Turns out, when Luke doesn't have your credit card, he can't pay for Cassidy's lifestyle. She's furious. They fight screaming matches in the front yard. His mom hates her now because Cassidy refuses to cook or clean. She told Linda that she's a guest. Last I heard, Luke was trying to kick her out, but she's claiming squatters' rights. I laughed. A genuine, full-bellied laugh. And the little blue pills? I asked. Stress, Mike smirked. Turns out, living with Cassidy and his mom in a 2-bedroom apartment while broke, yeah, the irony isn't lost on us. Chapter 6, The Final Blow. A year later, I was walking out of a coffee shop, adjusting my coat. I had sold the house, too many bad memories, and bought a sleek condo downtown. I was dating a surgeon named Julian, who had impeccable manners and parents who adored me. I saw a beat-up sedan idle at the curb. The window rolled down. It was Luke. He looked 10 years older. His hairline was receding, and he had gained weight. He looked at me, taking in my tailored coat, my glowing skin, the peace that radiated off me. Raina, he croaked. I stopped. Hello, Luke. I messed up. Big time. I know. Cassidy is crazy. You were right. She ruined everything. Mom kicked her out, but she sued us. I'm broke, Raina. I miss you. I miss us. He reached a hand out the window, as if to touch me. I took a step back. You don't miss me, Luke. You miss the house. You miss the stability. You miss having a punching bag to make yourself feel big. No, I love you. Love. I scoffed. You sat there and let her touch your belt buckle while your friends laughed at me. That wasn't love. That was you enjoying the show. I checked my watch. I have to go. Julian is waiting. Julian. My fiancé. I lied. We weren't engaged yet, but Julian had been looking at rings. He's a grown man. He doesn't need his mommy to fight his battles, and he certainly doesn't need blue pills. Luke flinched, as if I'd slapped him.
Goodbye, Luke.
Tell Cassidy I said thanks. She did me the biggest favor of my life. I turned and walked away, the click of my heels on the pavement sounding like a victory march. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what I was leaving behind. A boy who never grew up, and the ruins of a life I had outgrown. The air was crisp, the city was alive, and for the first time in years, the silence in my head wasn't lonely. It was free.